Shout out to Nadim for becoming a COTEL crew member. Thank you so much, brother. Guys, smash that like. And if you want to support the stream, feel free to send in a super chat over on Streamlabs, Dono Chat, or here on YouTube. And if you're really feeling generous, give some COTEL crew memberships. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Harry with Church of the Eternal Logos. And tonight, we're going to be getting into the interesting, at times, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of laughs, the fields of technofeminism, and then the subfield within that, often referred to as cyberfeminism. And obviously, these are offshoots of feminism. And originally, this stream was going to be done with our ortho feminist expert, Rachel Wilson. Unfortunately, some family things have come up, so I just asked that you guys keep Rachel and Andrew Wilson in your guys' prayers. We were kind of planning for the last couple weeks to do this stream, so she's not going to be able to stream until some things settle down. And again, love you, Rachel. Love you, Andrew. God bless you guys. But we're going to be covering the field of technofeminism, and then we're going to be looking at, I tell you, I found a YouTube video of one of these feminists describing the field of technofeminism in a YouTube video, and it's hilarious. So we're going to be looking at all these different contradictions and how essentially they're arguing for female representation, women in tech, how digital technologies are actually sexist and male dominated, and all at the same time, they are explicit in their promotion of androgyny and the undermining of gender norms, the bifurcation of gender and sexual expression. I got an article, we're not going to read it, but it's on post-genderism. These are a few, again, topics that I've been writing about for some of my academic stuff. But they go much further than Judith Butler's gender expression theories, right? Performative gender theory, where your gender is essentially your expression of it, right? It's performative. It's an embodiment of your values. So if you dress like a woman, you are a woman. It goes much further than that. Post-genderism is actually talking about changing actual biological sex, being able to choose whether you want to be a woman or a man. And we're not talking about just transgenderism, but including reproductive opportunities so that you can have children. So I, as a man, could essentially choose to be a woman and then use some of these new developing technologies, artificial wombs and such, that I can then choose whether I want to be the father or the mother of the child. So I got that. And we're going to be talking about, I got TikTok videos that we're going to be looking into. I just put in cyberfeminism, and it all kind of points back towards Donna Haraway. She is a scholar. She's kind of the progenitor of the field of cyberfeminism. She wrote a book in the 1980s called, what it was, I want to get the exact title right. Cyborg Manifesto, a cyborg manifesto, in which she's arguing essentially that cyborgs, the blending of humans with machines, machine implants, obviously moving towards transhumanism, is a wonderful thing for women because it's going to undermine, again, the patriarchy. Now, all of this is so interesting because while they are all for women and feminism, they actually want to do away with everything that's unique to women. They want to do away with marriage. They consider this a subordinate act and something that is tied to the patriarchal traditions, especially Christianity. They're very critical of Christianity. And I got a whole document I put together. Again, it's going to be available at my website for any of the website members for $5 a month. You guys can get access to all these documents. And let me know if you like them. They take a little bit of time to put together, but I figured it was a way. So many people have asked for like show notes because if you like when I do streams, I got all these different notes that I write down. Well, the last few streams, I've been kind of putting documents together and again, making all that available for people at the website. That way you get, I really don't want people to actually see the notes. I've had people offer to buy my show notes. But I've been in recent times putting together some of these documents, and I have one today. It's kind of an overview of technofeminism. So again, that's going to be available for website members. But my point is a cyborg manifesto, the work written by Donna Haraway. It's so funny because it's talking about promoting women, elevating feminism, and yet at the same time, they're explicit, especially the field post 1980. We're now in 2024 about doing away with everything that is unique to women. Motherhood, again, bifurcation of gender, being nurturers. It's about moving towards androgyny. And that's why I titled today's show The Androgyne Techno-Girl Boss, because much of the criticisms of technofeminism is they just want women to dominate the tech sphere. They want women to be CEOs. They want women to create more technologies. And the fact that they don't create technologies, they consider this a form of patriarchal oppression. And it's kind of, so it's funny as we move through the document, I highlight that every point they make, they also contradict, right? So they're upset for the fact that Google, Apple uses Siri and she has a female voice, right? They consider this part of the patriarchal tradition because men created the technology and they're using a woman's voice as a subservient figure to mostly men who are using these phones. Yet at the same time, you could easily see that if Siri was a man, which you can change it actually, and you can choose different dialects, British accents, Australian English. But if you change it to a man's voice, they would say, oh, see, this is part of the patriarchal tradition because men don't want to listen to women and they would rather take directions and take advice and information from other men. So the whole field, it's so interesting how it's just critical of everything. And it's relativism, and that ultimately contradicts each other. At the same point in which they claim they're upset that certain cultures limit female access to digital technologies, they also aren't going to critique Islam because Islam is a minority faith in the Western world, and therefore it has a privileged position. They argue that these digital technologies like Instagram and TikTok sexualize women, and yet at the same time, they're promoting women on OnlyFans in a way to utilize their body to create money. And so what exactly is the point? It seems like they just kind of contradict themselves over and over. And so we're going to be looking at that. And then we'll be watching people on TikTok. I found a couple of like private Zoom meetings that they've posted online. I guess they're public now, but these Zoom meetings of these techno cyber feminists, and it's hilarious. So you guys are going to be able, as Crispy says, vocal appropriation. Yeah, basically, that's basically what it is. Kristen says they know women don't want these types of jobs. They also know how to destroy nations by getting them to stop reproducing. Exactly. Well, they actually are quite open about, again, abortion is a huge thing, or maybe I should be careful saying that word with, again, the AI overlord here on YouTube. We know that sometimes you got to use different lingo. I know that BLA and Dyer call it abortion. Maybe we'll use that today. But this is the central thing. They want more women to have abortions. They want more women to have leadership roles. And then they're upset. So at the same time, they say, well, all these men have the skills and they're developing all these technologies and women should do it. Then they turn around and say, oh, there's a gender pay gap in the STEM fields and technology. They're not making the same amount of money. Well, you just said that the men have the skills and are creating all the products. What are you talking about? So we're going to be looking at all this stuff today. So smash that like, guys. Again, if you want to support today's stream, you got comments or questions, or you just want to support my work, feel free to send in a super chat over on Streamlabs, Dono Chat, or YouTube. And if anybody's feeling a little bit generous today, feel free to gift some COTEL Crew memberships here on YouTube. I know the chat always loves that. And I want to give a special thank you to Nadim Haddad for becoming a COTEL Crew member. Thank you so much, brother. And he had a comment. He said, God bless you, DPH, for all the content on COTEL. It has been a huge help in my Orthodox life. And please, everyone, if possible, pray for Lebanon. Yeah, no doubt about that. You know, God bless the Lebanese. A lot of Christians, a lot of Orthodox Christians. I'm Antiochian Orthodox, and so our jurisdiction actually covers parts of Lebanon and Syria. And so God bless everybody who's being affected. I know the state of Israel is continuing to terrorize people in the region, and it's been really disheartening to see every major U.S. politician has come out to pray for Israel. My thoughts and prayers are with Israel, and act like, I saw one person say, you know, this was the bombing yesterday by Iran was unprovoked. Unprovoked? What are you talking about? They've been killing civilians. I mean, it's now, from one article I saw, it's over 50,000 civilian Palestinians have been killed. I saw an Orthodox priest of I think it was the Greek Patriarchate in Lebanon, was severely wounded. So thoughts and prayers with him as well. And so God bless our Orthodox brothers and sisters. It's really sad to see that we're on the precipice of World War III. But again, this is something that we've talked about. And according to the recent saints and prophecies about eschatology, we know that once Israel attacks the nuclear facilities of Iran, that we are now in the Great War. And it certainly seems like it's already here. So God bless everybody who's being affected by this. I really feel bad for everybody. So anyways, on more of a lighter note, again, we're going to be diving into some of this technofeminism, and hopefully we can get a few laughs today, especially when we get into the TikTok and everything like that. But I don't really have too much of an opening monologue. I really just kind of wanted to get straight into our document today and kind of provide an overview of what all this stuff is. Because when you hear technofeminism or cyberfeminism, you're like, what the heck is he talking about? And no, these are real academic disciplines. No joke. So let's kind of begin here. So I put together a quick overview. Again, this document, like all the documents I've been creating the last, I think, 4 streams, those are available over at the website for website members. So for $5 a month, you can get access to all this different stuff. I put together a little bit of an overview of feminism. Now, again, I was expecting Rachel to be with me, so I wasn't going to do it all myself. I was going to let her kind of riff because she's phenomenal at covering feminism. But I wanted to kind of go through the differences between first wave, second wave, third wave, and of course, fourth wave feminism. Some of you may not be aware that we are now in the 4th turn of the feminist movement. And this represents feminism from basically the 2010 to the present era. And I got some of the major scholars in these areas. Then we'll be looking at technofeminism and cyberfeminism, like what exactly it is. And the way I worded much of this document is kind of in their own words, kind of steelman them. And then I have a section called Technology is Sexist, right here, where they go through, I list, I think, 7 of their main points here of how technology is oriented and male dominated and how it's oppressing women. Yes, technology is oppressing women. Now, the irony is, I've kind of mentioned this in previous streams. Oh, and then I have a section on the feminist critique of Christianity, looking at why they are have so much animosity towards Christianity and the ways in which they attempt to undermine it, unfortunately. So I kind of wrote down all these critiques and worded them based on the way that they themselves say that what their movement's trying to do. But one of the things I wanted to mention is the differences between the industrial and the digital revolution. And this is not my own idea. This is something that other scholars have also said. But, the Industrial Revolution basically was a supplanting of the physical body of man, right? So physical labor became dominated by machines, coal, various mechanisms to create like factory, the assembly line. And so rather than people doing everything physically, the machines and then the Industrial Revolution now sort of supplant the human physical body. And it's no coincidence then that when we look at the rise of feminism, which began in the 19th century, it's going to coincide with the Industrial Revolution and this displacing of the value of masculine strength in producing goods and services in various societies. And so as we move into the digital revolution, what's now occurring is it's not about the supplanting of the physical body, but it's the supplanting of the human mind. And this is one of the reasons why it's so oriented towards androgyny and the focus on a sort of androgynous human. Transhumanism is focused on this. I've talked about this ad nauseum before, but transgenderism and transhumanism, according to Natasha Vita-More, one of the leading transhumanist thinkers, they go hand in hand because the morphological freedom of one's body, meaning castrating yourself or using various hormones to augment the physical body, this is type of morphological freedom, which obviously with Donna Haraway is going to tie into her book, A Cyborg Manifesto, because the augmentation of the human body is a movement towards androgyny itself, which is again celebrated in these circles. So keep in mind that what's happening in our society and why women are being elevated to such a degree. And I've even saw a recent thing that millennial women own homes at a higher degree than millennial men. And they now are getting higher paying jobs than men. So this whole idea about the gender pay gap doesn't seem to really hold up, especially once you account for work hours. So men tend to work more hours than women because we're kind of predisposed to want to work, and also various skill sets and stuff like that. But anyways, I digress. So we're going to kind of go through this document just to give you guys a sort of overview of what technofeminism is as an actual academic discipline. And so again, first wave feminism, I'm sure you guys are familiar with that term and have heard of it. And so first wave feminism primarily emerged in the 19th and the 20th centuries, was centered on legal inequalities, particularly the fight for women's suffrage. So the suffrage movement. Again, I've already done streams with Rachel on this topic. So she's, again, explicated this ad nauseum, and you can kind of refer back to some of my streams with Rachel to talk more about that. But it was more about, again, the 19th Amendment, the right to vote, educational opportunities, property rights, owning bank accounts, this type of thing. And so the legal equality focused on securing equal rights for women. The right to vote was a central demand. Education and property rights, a push for greater access to education and the right for women to control property. Now, again, if you just search your whatever search engine you use, be it Google or Brave, I use Brave, DuckDuckGo, whatever it may be, you'll find that the universities are actually dominated by women, often almost to a 60-40 split. So this idea that women are undereducated in the Western world really doesn't stand the test anymore, because women are entering graduate school, even undergraduate university, but especially graduate school at a much higher clip than men are. And so some of the main figures of first wave feminism: Mary Wollstonecraft. Again, she was the author of A Vindication of Women, of the Rights of Women. That was 1792, so very early 18th century. Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and then Emmeline Pankhurst. She was a leading British suffragette of the suffragette movement, known for her militant tactics. And then we have second wave feminism. So this really begins in the 1960s, part of the American counterculture, really the counterculture that went across all the Anglo-speaking world. So it was present in Australia, England, Canada, all these places. But the second wave emerged in the 1960s as part of a broader civil rights and anti-war movement, which I'm all for anti-war. It responded to the failures of the first wave in addressing broader social and cultural inequalities beyond the legal realm. And so this movement really focused on workplace and reproductive rights. But what does reproductive rights mean? It means access to abortion. It means the ability to kill your child. That's really the central tenet. And we're going to see that over and over again, as it's still the central focus. And obviously, you guys are aware that the U.S. presidential election is coming up, and this is still the idea of repealing Roe v. Wade and allowing the states to decide on how they're going to handle abortion and when exactly it's going to be legal and illegal is a critical point for, again, all these women who are pro Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I don't know if you guys watched any of the debate last night, but Tim Walz is certainly a goofy dude. I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw clips of it, and JD Vance certainly looked like he dominated it. But Tim Walz, I don't know if you guys saw, he's kind of being celebrated as modern masculinity. Well, what is it? Well, there's a lot of rumors that he has some weird sexual fetishes. He's very goofy, very strange, and comes off very effeminate, which is exactly what technofeminism, cyberfeminism, or feminism in general wants, because it's all a movement towards androgyny. So anyways, second wave feminism is about workplace, reproductive rights, and then social and cultural equality, recognition of the ways in which patriarchy has embedded in daily life, from sexual relations to domestic roles. So this is where we really see feminism kick off in influencing women to not get married, that somehow this is a patriarchal form of oppression, that women shouldn't be subservient to men, but they should be subservient to their male bosses. Irony for sure. But again, and also limiting the production of children. They do not want women to produce more and more children, because that's somehow going to nullify your journey becoming your techno girl boss or girl boss in whatever field it is that you want. So sexual liberation, identity politics. Again, this is still going to be present within fourth wave feminism, as we still have two more waves of feminism to get through, but abortion, sexual liberation. So again, sexual sin, sexual immorality from a Christian perspective is central. And of course, identity politics. The 60s is where we really begin to see identity politics emerge, and the exploration of women's sexuality and autonomy over their bodies became central issues. Some of the major figures of second wave feminism is Simone de Beauvoir, Betty Friedan, and of course, Gloria Steinem. All three figures I'm sure most of you guys are already aware of, so we're not going to have to dive too deep into that. Now, third wave feminism, and this really begins in the 1990s and ends in the early 2000s. As I said, fourth wave feminism is really kind of generally described as beginning in the 2000 teens. So I put 2010. But third wave feminism arose as a response to the perceived shortcomings of second wave feminism, particularly its focus on the experiences of middle-class white women. This wave emphasized diversity, intersectionality, recognizing the interconnectedness of race, class, gender, and sexuality. And so now we see intersectionality, which you're going to hear over and over again when we play one of these techno-feminist YouTube videos. It's like 50 minutes. And so instead of writing an academic paper, apparently her feminist professor allowed her to create a video vlog on YouTube, and we're going to watch parts of it because it's quite funny. But she's going to talk about intersectionality over and over again. In fact, you guys should just do a drinking game. Every time she says intersectionality, you should take a drink, and we'll see if you're able to stand to the end of the stream today. So intersectionality is about addressing the varied experiences of women across different social identities. The concept of intersectionality was introduced by Kimberly Crenshaw and became central to third wave feminism. Cultural representation is another central feature of third wave feminism, a focus on the deconstructing gender roles and norms through culture, media, and identity. And then sexuality and empowerment, embracing sexual expression and reclaiming feminine identities, sometimes in ways that blurred distinctions between feminist critique and pop culture. Now, this is what's so interesting as we're going to move further in this document, is that they're going to talk about how these digital technologies exploit women's sexuality, that it forces women, it oppresses women because it elevates unrealistic beauty standards, and it's overly sexualized. Yet at the same time, as we can see here about sexuality and empowerment, and the whole thing about slut shaming, remember that was going around like 3 or 4 years ago about women being proud of being a slut, that at the same time they critique social media for sexualizing women. It's also a form of empowerment for women, and that's why then OnlyFans girls are celebrated, because they are taking back their power through their sexual identity and expression. And third wave is really through focus. Some of the major figures here is Kimberly Crenshaw, we already mentioned. Again, she's kind of responsible for intersectionality. But Judith Butler is a professor at University of Berkeley, and she is famous for her theory of performative gender, that gender is really a performative expression, and it's disconnected from any sort of sexual biological reality. And so she's a philosopher known for Gender Trouble, a book that she wrote in 1990, where they explored gender as performative and questioned the binary understanding of sex and gender. And then Rebecca Walker, credited with coining the term third wave in her essay, Becoming a Third Wave, and emphasizing generational shifts in feminist thought. Now, when we talk about feminism in its present tense, we're talking about fourth wave feminism. And fourth wave feminism is often linked to the digital age. This is why things like cyberfeminism and technofeminism are real fields of study, unfortunately, even in graduate school. And so it is facilitated by the rise of social media platforms. It focuses on issues of sexual harassment, body positivity, and intersectionality, using online activism as a primary mode of engagement. And so, as we said, online activism, body positivity, and identity. So fourth wave is really where we see this body positivity of obese people. Now you see Calvin Klein ads. It used to be beautiful men and women. Now it's a Black transgender woman who's clearly overweight. I don't remember if you guys saw that underwear commercial is on billboards across the United States. And so it's a push for body diversity, mental health awareness, and the inclusion of LGBTQ plus voices. Now, coming as an Orthodox Christian to this topic, I would, and various clergy has also spoke, that much of the mental illness we see today in our world, which is rampant, it's at its highest rate ever recorded, is really a spiritual problem. And so it's ironic that mental health awareness is a central part of fourth wave feminism, while at the same time promoting things like transgenderism and obesity as ways of positively expressing one's own identity. And of course, intersectionality in inclusivity, consistent with third wave as well, expanding the feminist conversation to include marginalized voices such as trans women, so men, women of color, and working class women. And again, the fact that a particular focus is on trans women, and I don't know if you saw, what was it? There's I don't know, was it Forbes? There was a magazine that recently talked about how the wealthiest female, they consider the wealthiest woman CEO in the United States turns out to be a trans woman. So again, a man. And yet somehow the fact that the man identifies as a woman and dresses up as a woman empowers women. Very strange, very interesting. Oh, thank you so much. Nadim Haddad just gifted a COTEL Crew membership. Thank you very much, brother. And congratulations, Bravo Salvacon, on getting that membership. Really appreciate you, Nadim. Thank you very much, brother, for the support. I do appreciate that. Oh, and it looks like looks like Jim Bob has rated us with some of the Jortlandians. So welcome, Jortlandians. Yes, get a nub wave going. Guys, smash that like. And um, again, anybody from Jortland, if you'd like to give some COTEL Crew memberships, please do so. Would greatly appreciate that. So anyways, let's kind of continue through our thing here. And so fourth wave feminism, some of the major academic figures here is Tarana Burke. She's the founder of the Me Too movement, which called attention to the widespread nature of sexual harassment and assault. And then Roxane Gay, author of Bad Feminist. This is a book in 2014 which critiques societal expectations of feminism and explores the intersection of race, gender, and pop culture. And then Laverne Cox, a transgender activist and actress advocating for the rights and visibility of trans women. So what is technofeminism and cyberfeminism then? Now, technofeminism is really the overarching discipline of this field, and cyberfeminism is really a subsection of it, but really they kind of go hand in hand because they're doing very similar things. And so technofeminism focuses on the relationship between gender and technology, critiquing how technological development often reinforces patriarchal norms while also offering opportunities for women's empowerment. It integrates how women are excluded or marginalized within technological industries and how technology can be harnessed to challenge gender hierarchies. Now, are they actually marginalized? Because one of the things that they're going to critique is like STEM fields. And I believe, what was it, Sweden that did a study where basically they allowed men and women to kind of choose their own profession. There's no societal pressures, and women and men naturally gravitated towards fields, work, and disciplines that are consistent with their own sexual identity. So men tend to be more rationalistic. Mathematics, engineering, science, these types of things, technology, STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Men typically gravitate toward those fields. And I am still kind of pressed in 2024 to see how women are being societally hampered from engaging in such academic pursuits. It seems to me if they want to be in STEM, the universities will bend over backwards to make sure that they're included. And then cyberfeminism was a term coined in the 1990s, and it explores the internet and digital spaces as arenas for feminist activism and thought. It envisions cyberspace as a potential site for disrupting traditional gender norms, arguing that digital technology can help dismantle patriarchal structures by enabling new forms of expression and community. And as I said, cyber feminism is really tied, as we're going to see on TikTok, these women who identify as cyber feminists, that they almost always refer back to their recent reading of the 1985 book, A Cyborg Manifesto. They act like this stuff is brand new. Again, Donna Haraway wrote that book in 1985. And she argues that for a feminist approach to technology that blurs the boundaries between human and machine, offering a critique of traditional gender roles in the context of technological evolution. And then Sadie Plant, she wrote a book called Ones and Zeros. And she is a leading figure in cyberfeminism. Plant's work explores how digital technologies can both challenge and reproduce gender hierarchies, with a particular focus on how women navigate and use cyberspace. So what are the objectives of techno and cyber feminism? Well, it's all about challenging the patriarchy in tech. Again, often the people in tech already have a very liberal and progressive disposition. So you would think that the tech field is one of the more accommodating fields for women. And yet this needs to be dismantled, its patriarchal identity. So both technofeminism and cyberfeminism critique male-dominated technology industry and the ways that digital tools often reflect and reinforce existing gender inequalities. Again, as I pointed out, and I have later in this document, the fact that Siri is a female and uses a female voice, this is a subordination of women. And yet you could easily see if Siri was a man, well, then men only want to men are reinforcing the male dominance by taking orders and information from other men. So it's like they just critique and really complain about anything. And then exploring identity, embodiment, and cyberspace. These fields explore how virtual environments allow for new expressions of identity, potentially freeing women from traditional gender roles like being a mother and being married. Those are the two that they really want to focus on. And so they are in favor of artificial wombs. This is a big one, because if women can just put their babies in artificial rooms inside of a laboratory, well, then they can have a child if they choose, which most likely they would ask them not to, because the planet is overpopulated and it's causing problems for the ecosystem, a la climate change. But they believe this is a liberative technology for women. This is, again, a central feature of fourth wave feminism. And then the feminist activism in the digital age. The rise of social media as a feminist tool has been central to fourth wave feminism, allowing for widespread movements against gender-based violence and oppression. And so challenging biological determinism, as I said, a core aspect of cyberfeminism and technofeminism is their critique of what they call biological determinism. The idea that biology, especially reproductive capabilities, defines women's roles in society, right? So this is the interesting part, is in the name of feminism, they want to do away with everything that is unique to women. This is why androgyny is so celebrated. They essentially want women to be a hybrid man. They want to do away with everything that God has given them and has blessed them and made them unique and different from men. So in their hatred of the patriarchy, they want women to become more patriarchal. Traditional patriarchal structures have long argued that women's ability to give birth naturally predisposes them to roles such as child rearing, nurturing, and caregiving. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I don't think that's very controversial, but this is seen as a problem. And so cyberfeminists and technofeminists challenge this view by emphasizing the role of technology and reshaping biological functions and undermining the inevitability of gendered labor. And so technological reproduction, as I said, they explore how technology, particularly in the realm of reproductive health, which is essentially birth control, abortion, in vitro fertilization, surrogacy, artificial wombs, can separate women's biological roles as mother from their social role by enabling women to control when and how they reproduce. Technology gives women more autonomy, breaking the traditional association with femininity and motherhood, right? So why you would think that if you're pro-feminism, you would celebrate femininity and motherhood. But no, this is actually a main point of the attack. So, for instance, cyberfeminism argues that reproductive technologies can redistribute the labor of childbearing and childcare, potentially even to non-female bodies. And I'm going to show you, we're not going to read it, but I have an academic paper that is it's focused on post-genderism. So this is another post-turn in the academy. So you guys are familiar with postmodernism. There's post-humanism. This is, again, the movement into a non-biological human, a la transhumanism. And then we have post-secularism, the breakdown between religious and secular narratives as all being sort of a meaning-making narratives for purpose in a secular technological world. And now we have a understanding in which non-female bodies will be able to give birth. And post-genderism is an expression of this. And they literally talk about how men will be able, if they want, can have a womb and be able to give birth if they choose. And this way, traditional gender roles associated with reproduction are seen as social constructs of a la relativism. Everything is relative, right? So why exactly are they doing? Well, it's just the critical theory. It's the Marxist initiative to undermine anything that pre-exists. We have to move to a new historical starting point, year zero. And that's really the point. That's why it's relativism. It's contradictory, and they don't care. It's all about attacking that which has come before. And so deconstructing marriage, right? So marriage and reproduction, two unique features of female life, these need to be undone. Cyberfeminism and technofeminism also critique the institution of marriage, traditionally seen as a patriarchal system that binds women to roles as wives and mothers. And in digital spaces, cyberfeminism promote alternative forms of relationships and intimacy that challenge normative heterosexual monogamous marriage model. And so, as we talked, we mentioned Donna Haraway in her book, A Cyborg Manifesto. I put in the AI on the Brave browser, and I just was curious whether she was a lesbian or not. And what I found is that her first husband was a gay man, and they ended up getting a divorce, and she got remarried to a man, so she was heterosexual, but they ended up living together. So her and her husband lived with her ex-husband and then his new husband. Strange. Very strange. So I just thrown that out there. So the concept of post-human relationships that transcend the boundaries of human biology and social structures is central to these movements. And this is where we've talked about sex dolls and this whole marketplace, which is actually growing. Men are having less access to sex, according to research, and therefore they're turning to dolls, AI dolls. And I did a whole stream covering AI sex bots, and this is something that is actually celebrated by cyberfeminists. So cyberfeminists are deconstructing reproduction, deconstructing marriage, and then celebrating that men are fornicating with dolls instead of actual women. All right. Reproductive autonomy and redefinition. So we've already talked about artificial reproduction, androgyny, and gender fluidity. Again, androgyny is central to their movement. And both technofeminism and cyberfeminism advocate for a fluid understanding of gender, one that is not bound by the biological categories of male and female. And so Donna Haraway's A Cyborg Manifesto is foundational in this regard, as she introduces the idea of a cyborg as a metaphor for a future where the boundaries between human and machine, male and female, are blurred, which we are living in right now. And so the ways in which they want to undermine the patriarchy, digital identities, and gender play, disrupting traditional power dynamics, again, androgyny and such. So how is technology sexist, you ask? I was curious myself. So preparing for the stream, I started to look at how exactly are they arguing that technology is so oppressive to women and yet at the same time liberative? Well, they say it's a male-centric design, that the tech industry, particularly in the fields of software development, engineering, and artificial intelligence, has been historically dominated by men, which is, yeah, true. And therefore, as a result, the technologies that are produced and developed are deemed to reflect male perspectives and priorities. And so voice assistants, right? I said Alexa and Siri, because systems are often designed to have female voices, you would think something they'd be celebrated about, because I'm getting my directions when I'm driving down the road from a woman, a perceived woman. Obviously, it's AI, but the feminists claim that this is reinforcing traditional gender stereotypes where women serve in supportive and subservient roles. And as I say, if the voice was male, if the voice was male, the criticism would again be that patriarchal standards, as men want to be directed and ordered by other men and not women. Health technology. They argue that because health apps are designed by men and sometimes use male bodies, they argue that this leads to inaccuracies in diagnosing and treating conditions that affect women. Algorithmic biases, they say, is due to male privilege. So hiring algorithms, if an algorithm is trained on historical hiring data because women have been oppressed for so long, therefore it may continue to favor male applicants. And then facial recognition software, apparently they found that AI facial recognition was having trouble with Black women of color, and this was deemed to be part of a racist patriarchal oppression within technology. The gender gap in access to technology. They highlight that in certain places, in some parts of the world, women don't have access to smartphones and digital technologies to the same degree men do. And therefore, this leads to a form of oppression. This creates barriers for women in terms of education, employment, and participation in civic life. Yet at the same time, if they did have access to that, they would be oppressed by the technology again, right? So you kind of goes both ways there. And then economic opportunities, you get it. Cultural barriers. So they talk about in some cultures, women are discouraged or outright prevented from using technology, a la traditional Muslim societies. And yet at the same time, these cultures such as Islam are celebrated by feminists when it concerns diversity and an undermining of Western Christian culture. They argue that it's an exploitation of women's labor in the tech industry. Gendered labor in tech manufacturing, much of the physical labor involved in producing technology, so physical labor, assembling smartphones or electronics, is performed by women in low-wage, exploitive working conditions, especially like countries like China and Southeast Asia. These women often work long hours in unsafe environments for low pay, reinforcing global gender and economic equalities. And then they talk about gig economy, that is really prominent now post the coup, and remote work, and that women often are data entryists, content moderators, computer support analysts, which typically offer little job security, benefits, and upward mobility. So it might be due to the fact that they don't have some of the higher paying skills that would be necessary for these fields, but that again is part of a history of oppression. Cyber harassment, gendered violence, online harassment, revenge porn, and sexual exploitation. You know, they're talking about revenge porn and all this different stuff and how technology is oppressing women. But I found very little concerning how technologies amplify false sexual abuse claims against men, which is something that has happened multiple times in recent years. What's next? Technological commodification of women's bodies. So at the same time, slut shaming is bad because women can use their sexuality for empowerment. Social media platforms are guilty of patriarchal normative oppression because it then allows women to sexualize themselves, therefore leading to unrealistic beauty standards, they say. This is all while women are voluntarily selling themselves and engaging in prostitution on media sites such as OnlyFans. So which way is it? Is it that women can't be sexualized, or sexuality and sexualization empowers women? Again, that's what these contradictions you see throughout much of this academic literature. And then surveillance and control. Technologies like tracing apps or surveillance software have been used to control and monitor women, particularly in the context of domestic abuse. Yet again, these feminists act as if women can't be the abusers in relationship and use the same digital technologies against men. And then gendered innovative gaps, lack of innovation in women's health, exclusion of leadership and decision making. And then number 7 is gender inequality in STEM education and careers, which again, women generally just don't choose to go into STEM fields. So they say there's barriers to STEM careers. Feminists claim that in early age, girls are often discouraged from pursuing STEM subjects, such as due to societal stereotypes that associate science and technology with masculinity. I mean, who is telling their daughters they're not allowed to go into science, technology, engineering, or mathematics because it's dominated by men? What? And then pay and promotion gaps. Feminists use the same rhetoric. They face significant challenges in advancing their careers. Women often believed to be paid less than their male counterparts for the same work. However, factors such as work hours and quality are rarely ever mentioned. And so my last section here is why technofeminism and cyberfeminism and feminism in general has so much animosity towards Christianity. Because this is really, as we've talked about, did a stream, part 1 with Jay Dyer on deconstructionism, where we talked a little bit about Jacques Derrida and his book Grammatology, where he talks about foul logocentrism being the central pillar of Christianity. The privileging of the masculine, the privileging of logos, philosophy, theology, and of course, centeredness, focusing on the center, not the margins, and how he wanted to undermine that by promoting a sort of gynocentric order and anti-logos, so doing away with objective truth, doing away with a focus on rationality and mathematics, logic, and focusing on the margins. And so we see this continued and perpetuated within all this feminist literature. And so the number one reason why feminists critique Christianity is the role of women in Christianity. There's the subordination of women. Feminists argue that Christianity, particularly through its reading of texts like Genesis, Eve as a temptress who leads Adam astray, and the letters of Paul, where women are told to be submissive to their husbands, has justified the subordination of women. This has reinforced gender roles that cast women as passive, nurturing, and obedient, particularly within the domestic sphere. And then ecclesiastical order. So thank God, Holy Orthodoxy still has a patriarchal ecclesiastical hierarchy. The exclusion of women from the clergy in many Christian denominations is viewed as symbolic of broader societal structures that deny women authority and power. And then control over women's bodies. So Christianity is against the abortion and killing of children. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is the church telling women what they should do with their bodies. And then sexual morality. Christianity is really, really bad because it tells women that there's actually ways in which sex should be administered and done within the context of a marriage, rather than giving yourself freely and then leading to higher rates of depression and short-term relationships and failing to actually build families, which we know tend to give women happier lives. There was a study that showed that not only were married women, quote unquote, having more sex and more pleasurable sex, but they were happier overall in their lives, especially when they were happily married with children. So again, that must be a problem. And then divine justification of patriarchy, feminist critique by the way that Christianity has traditionally provided divine sanction for patriarchal authority, portraying gender roles as part of a natural God-given order. This theological framework has been used historically to legitimize not only the subordination of women, but also forms of hierarchical oppression. And so cyberfeminist critiques is Christianity as a control system, the undermining of traditional gender norms. As I said, androgyny is the central focus here. They want to do away with male-female. They want to move towards a sort of sexual hybridization. They want to do away with everything that is unique to women that men can't do. They want to actually offer this to trans women. They want to make sure that trans women could potentially be given a uterus, that they could potentially be implanted with a baby for such maybe inside of an artificial womb within their own stomach, and so that a man then can feel the pleasures of giving birth. So they are particularly critical of Christianity's emphasis on binary gender roles, which is clearly present within nature. I saw a video on X actually where this was a woman who identified as, what was a non-binary, we'll just put it that way. I don't even know what she identified as, and she was petting her cat. And somebody said, "Oh, what sex is your cat, or what identity is your cat?" And she goes, "Well, it's a girl." And they said that one of the people, it was a live chat, and so in the chat, somebody said, "Well, how do you know it's a girl?" And she said, "Well, I just looked at its parts," which is ironic, right? So they deny the bifurcation of sexual and gender roles. And yet when it comes to the natural world or animals, it's okay. You can just look and see if it has testicles or not. And so these movements aim to undermine biological essentialism, is what they call it, that Christianity promotes by advocating for the use of technology to transcend gender roles. For example, the notion of post-gendered society, which I'm going to show you in just a second, and what exactly that envisions. And then again, they like to reframe religious narratives. As you've seen, what was it? The Anglican Church wanted to refer to God with female pronouns. This was problematic. And then the critique of biblical patriarchy, which you can why don't you just not accept Christianity? Why do you have to constantly change everything? That seems to kind of go beyond them. Secularization and diminishing institutional power. They're advocates for secularism and the secularization theory that feminist movements often push for the separation of church and state as a way to diminish Christianity's institutional power. Now, what's interesting is I like to use their rhetoric and their lingo against them. And so in my academic work, I'm actually using post-secularism. This is a theory that kind of really got popularized by Jürgen Habermas, and he's a critical theorist out of the Frankfurt School. So I'm not here to endorse everything about Jürgen Habermas, but he highlights that in the contemporary age, especially in the age of biotechnology, that religious and secular narratives have collapsed, and there is no such thing as purely secular and purely religious, because secular narratives are infused with religious sentiments, a la transhumanism, eschatology of the singularity, moving into divinity, having omniscience, all this different stuff. That these are really religious narratives repackaged as secular rhetoric, and therefore we are actually living in a post-secular world. So as much as they're promoting secularization and kind of a theory that's fallen apart, secularization theory, if you don't know, was believed that rationality and science was going to disenchant the world. This comes from the disenchantment theory of Max Weber. But they argued that religion was going to slowly dissipate. It was going to go entirely away by the end of the 20th century, which isn't the case. We're now a quarter of the way through the 21st century, and religion is alive and well all around the world. It's not going away. So secularization as a theory itself has been falsified, and yet they're still working on that. So cultural secularization, again, media, education, but what they're offering is a religious narrative. They just don't want to be framed that way. Technological alternatives to Christian norms, biotechnology, reproductive autonomy, as I said, artificial intelligence and post-humanism. Cyberfeminists envision a future where technology allows individuals to transcend their biological bodies and identities, directly challenging Christianity's idea of the sanctity of the human body, gender, and reproduction. Again, references back to Donna Haraway's book. Promoting androgyny and post-gender futures, destabilizing gender norms, post-gender society. They want it that there is no more male and female, that you can't tell who is what, and it feels like we're almost there. And then undermining Christianity's moral authority, advocating for sexual freedom, and sex-positive feminism, challenge the Christian valorization of virginity. Oh my gosh, purity. A woman actually taking control of her body and choosing who she's going to share that with is actually a form of patriarchal oppression. Don't you know, you virgins out there that are waiting to have sex for marriage, waiting to give the gift of your body to somebody in a pure way, that's actually a form of patriarchal oppression. You need to go out and have as much sex as you can. And so they condemn the sexual practices, or Christianity condemns the sexual practices that deviate from heterosexual reproductive norms. Yes, of course, that's part of the revealed word of God. And so cyberfeminists often take this critique further by exploring the ways that digital spaces and technologies can enable new forms of sexual expression and identity, and then challenge Christianity's opposition to LGBTQ peoples and relationships in favor of inclusive policies that recognize the rights of these individuals to love, marry, and express their identities outside a Christian moral framework. So that's my document. Again, that's going to be available at the website. So if anybody wants to have access to these, you guys can just copy and paste them and keep all these show notes that I've been creating on the last 4 streams. You just go to my website and become a website member. So smash that like, guys. Now we're going to get into some of the funny stuff. Now we're going to be looking at what the cyber feminists and techno feminists say in their own words. Okay, so this should actually be the fun part of the stream. But before we do that, let me do a quick bit of housekeeping. And so, as I said, if you would like to have access to all these documents, just go to my website and become a $5 a month member. It's a great way to help me out. It's a great way to support my work, my research, and my YouTube channel by just going to my website, becoming a website member. Again, it's the price of a cup of coffee. And if you purchase for an annual subscription, you get 2 months free. And we have a think tank meeting coming this Wednesday. So not today, but next Wednesday, a week from today, where we get in a private group with really Orthodox men. It's mostly, we only have men. So it's men from all around the world, Orthodox Christians. And we talk about the latest happenings in the world. I'm sure Israel and Lebanon and Palestine and Iran and the prophecies, we talk a lot about that stuff. So if you'd like to join that, get yourself a premium membership. And also, if anybody wants to sign up for a one-on-one session, please do so with this link right here. We can get into a private Zoom meeting and talk about any topics your heart desires. And if you have a stream topic that you would like to sponsor, please go to my website right here and sponsor a stream, and I will reach out to you, and you can tell me a little bit about what it is you want me to cover. And then we can go back and forth, and then I'll tell you when I'll be able to get all that research done and present your stream. But that's another great way to support my work. And I know the community has loved. We've had so many great sponsored streams. The next one, as I said, is going to be a covering of this really important book called Russia Before the Second Coming. I've been reading through this. This is there's only 2 copies that I know of that are fully translated in English, and they're all done by the Eschaton Vigil. So if you have been liking some of the conversations I've had, I'm going to be doing more on Orthodox eschatology, prophecies, looking at signs that we can kind of keep our eyes peeled for as we move closer towards the end times. Go to the eschatonvigil.org. This is a non-for-profit that I work with. And this is actually how I have this book. What we're doing is translating tons of literature for the first time ever into English for essentially the global Orthodox world. Not everybody knows Greek. Not everybody knows Russian. Not everybody knows Serbian or Romanian or Bulgarian. And so what we've been trying to do is use this non-for-profit. So shout out to the Eschaton Vigil. If you want to support their work, please go to their website. Become a member there, and you'll get access to all these documents. So many people have asked me, hey, how do I get a hold of that document you had of all the prophecies regarding America? Well, if you go become a member at the eschatonvigil.org, you will get access to all that stuff. That's what it's for. This is for a community of Orthodox seekers around the world to have access to stuff in English never before. So go to the eschatonvigil.org. And then if anybody is in the marketplace for some Orthodox items, check out orthodoxdepot.com, orthodoxdepot.com. Use promo code COTEL, and you'll get 10% off icons, prayer ropes, incense lamps, whatever it may be. It's a good American Orthodox company, and you can help me out, and you can help our Orthodox brothers out. So thank you guys for all that. So, okay. Let's now dive into some of the funnier stuff that I want to present to you all. And first thing I want to say is, if you have any comments or questions, you want to support my work, please do so with Dono Chat, Streamlabs, or YouTube. Would really appreciate that. It does take considerable time kind of putting everything together for some of these streams, and I appreciate you guys. And if you can't right now, don't. I'm not asking everybody to do stuff if you're not financially capable. That's not the point. It's all for free. But obviously, it's tough times for everybody. So support my work if you can. I'd greatly appreciate that. And Justin Henley sends in $5 over on the Dono Chat and says, can't seem to gift a membership, but here's some support anyway. Well, thank you very much, Justin Henley, for the $5 super chat. I do appreciate that, my man. And okay, so we're not going to be looking at any of this, but this was so difficult. I couldn't even read most of it. This is a book on technofeminism, multi and transdisciplinary contemporary views on women in technology. Here's just some of the chapter titles. Feminism and Technology with Dr. Judy. So Judy Walkman, she's a very prominent figure. There's a whole interview with her in here. How to be a woman in science, an interview with Anna Vissel. So we're not going to look at any of this. I just grabbed this because I was doing research for the stream, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So you can download it for free. If you guys are brave enough to want to dive deeper into all this stuff, I was going to share this with you, but I can't say I advocate one doing so. It's going to be a little bit boring, in my opinion. So, okay, here's this article that I just want you guys to see the abstract. So this is an article called Post-Genderism, Beyond the Gender Binary. Now, this is by 2 men, both of which are transhumanist advocates, but I had to read through this article for some of my research, and it's pretty eye-opening. And so I just want to read you guys the abstract to this. This is on academic.edu or academia.edu. So post-genderism is an extrapolation of ways that technology is eroding the biological, psychological, and social role of gender, and an argument for why the erosion of binary gender will be liberatory. Oh, wow. Post-genderists argue that gender is an arbitrary and unnecessary limitation to human potential and foresee the elimination of involuntary biological and psychological gendering in the human species through the application of neurotechnology. So you want to get your brain implant, which again, we've done a whole stream on the history of brain implants, biotechnology, and reproductive technologies. Post-genderists contend that didactic gender roles and sexual dimorphisms are generally to the detriment of individuals in society. Assisted reproduction will make it possible for individuals of any sex to reproduce in any combinations they choose. So listen closely here. With or without mothers and fathers, and artificial wombs will make biological wombs unnecessary for reproduction. Greater biological fluidity and psychological androgyny will allow future persons to explore both masculine and feminine aspects of personality. Postgenderists do not call for the end of all gender traits or universal androgyny, but rather that those traits become a matter of choice. Bodies and personalities in our post-gender future will no longer be constrained, circumscribed by gender traits, but enriched by their use of the palette of diverse self-expression. Now, later in this argument, they literally talk about not just transitioning gender. That's transgenderism, right? That's tied with gender expression, and then these gender affirming care, right? Which those giving people surgeries to have artificial vaginas and penises, taking skin grafts from their arms, this type of stuff. So later in this article, we're not going to read it, but he's actually advocating that men will be able to give birth if they want to. And this is the future that is so liberatory and full of human potential. So I actually do recommend reading this article. It is quite interesting. And so check that out if you guys are interested. So here, now we can get into some of the interesting and funny stuff, but we'll begin with TikTok. This, I just found a playlist of technofeminisms. And so they have a bunch of feminist scholars, and it's these short little clips. You see this like a minute 17, a minute 26, 43 seconds, 23 seconds of all these techno feminists talking about their ideas, the future, and all this different stuff. So I just wanted to bring that up. Now, this video is hilarious. This is what is it? Naomi Levine. It has 271 views, so it's not exactly going viral. But this is her. Instead of writing a paper, she does a video vlog on what techno-feminism is, and you guys have to watch this. Okay, so actually, let's just. I just want you guys to watch the first 5 minutes before we even get into the TikTok madness. This is unbelievable. So check this out.
Hey, Dr. Smith, it's Naomi. I'm in a tree.
Hey, Dr. Smith, I'm in a tree.
To let you know that instead of writing a paper that I did not feel like writing, and I don't know if you actually feel like reading because it's a global pandemic, and wow, that sucks. I decided to make a video essay because it felt more fun and more creative. I'm not going to be in the tree the whole time, just some of the time. Mostly just this time because I'm honestly not confident if I can get out of this tree. So who knows what's going to happen, and I didn't bring my notes with me.
Neither am I. I'm not so confident either. So it looks like Naomi and I share that since.
But I wanted to make a video explaining and applying feminist techno-science, or techno-feminism, as it's also called, so that I could actually put it in contexts in real-world situations. And while, yes, I could have spent many pages describing to you the various scenes and written you a very interesting short story and science fiction, I thought it would be more fun for me, and hopefully more fun for you, if I just filmed it and made it more exciting and edited it all together and did some weird costuming and all that exciting stuff. So that's what we have, is a video of whatever length this ends up being, explaining techno-feminism to you.
Robo Feminist versus Science Wizard is the title of her video essay, apparently, for her project. Okay.
Aha! I've done a science. And with this science, I shall further solidify the male domination of the manosphere. And with this science that I've done, we now have apolitical and totally unbiased evidence that the male form is the default form of humanity, and all others are just mutations of the one true form.
Halt!
Oh my gosh. No, this hurts to watch. Oh my gosh. Kristen says, remember the old adage about falling out of the other tree and everything? Oh.
I am here to overthrow your science and pervert it with a vagocentric femologic.
I'm here to pervert your science with a vagocentric femologic. Wow. Exciting.
Get out of this chair. I'm taking your science. Give me the science, mine. And now, with this science, I shall improve the inferiority of the male species.
When I watched this, all I could think about is her beta male, her beta male boyfriend. I wouldn't assume that they're married. I can't imagine. I don't see rings here. That'd be very anti-techno-feminist if they were married. 74 IQ. Yeah, that's about right. I'm just thankful that they cleaned up for the video. I mean, I know how important this video essay must have been. I don't know if she's a graduate student or what. Based on some of the language here, it sounds like maybe this is a master's student or something like that. But of course, instead of actually doing actual academic scholastic work and writing a paper, they create this video vlog essay. And I'm so glad they cleaned up everything around it to really, really enhance the character of it all. So what is technofeminism? Here, you guys will get it from a bird's eye view right out of the horse's mouth. Shout out to Nick. He said we woke up and chose cringe. Buck White says, I gotta look this up. One sec. Just put in technofeminism and look for Naomi Levine. You'll find it. You'll find it.
Technofeminism is a second wave feminism, which means that rather than being centered on the homogenizing of collective female identities, it's centered around power. Notable scholars who discuss power from second wave feminism include Bell Hooks, Audre Lorde, and Gloria Anzaldúa. If we look at power through the lens of Bell Hooks,
yeah. Shout out to FDA, Father Deacon Dr. Ananias. He says Levine. I thought the same. And Brenna says, I wish I could have submitted part of my thesis as a video, but STEM doesn't do that. Yeah, exactly. This is, again, I'm a humanities scholar. I'm a religious studies scholar. And as I always say, this is unfortunately the quality of graduate level humanities scholarship. It's terrible. It's terrible out there, guys. Part of the reason why I don't wish to be part of any sort of public school or academic, unless it's a Christian college. I love teaching in the classroom. I taught introductory to world religions at the University of Illinois, I loved teaching class and constructing classes on various topics with videos, different ways to educate. But the academy is filled with this stuff. So here, I'll play a little bit more, but it is poor academic work at best.
Who I believe complicates the notion of power and feminism to the most completeness is it's a three-dimensional ideology in which it's about having power, limits on power, and the transference of power between individuals, which thus makes power not only an intrapersonal experience and an interpersonal experience, but it also makes it a societal experience, because what the limits are is they are limits that are placed based on socioeconomic, governmental, and institutional perceptions of specific socio-locations of people that are either valued or devalued at irregular and varying degrees throughout history.
So you can clearly see this is just a regurgitation of feminist critical theory rhetoric about intersectionality and identity. You could explicate and articulate the point she's trying to make in much less convoluted ways. But this, again, is the sort of state of academia.
And are not consistent. They're socially constructed.
Yes, everything about your identity is a social construction. It certainly has no innate level of origination whatsoever. Me being a man, me being predisposed to certain things, that's all social construction.
So with that in mind, that's the feminism aspect of it. To delve deeper into it, since feminism is multifaceted, has a lot of different layers to it, what I believe from my reading of Judy Wacom's book is that technofeminism strongly relies on what is often credited to Kimberly Crenshaw as intersectionality within feminism. Intersectionality is often is an idea that is written in the black and white, and that pun is intended because oftentimes we talk specifically about the intersection of one's racial identity with their gendered identity. And oftentimes in the early stages of this, it relies on the binary of black and white and of female and male. But intersectionality, when applied in a more critical framework, can actually be used at multiple different levels, where you can have intersections of various types of racial identities throughout history, along with the spectrum in three-dimensional space, web of gender, as well as things like class, ability or disability, education, and much more. So I myself am this complicated, multifaceted human being.
Oh, I bet you're very complicated.
And what these intersections do is they come with certain amounts of privilege in society. Being a Jewish white female comes with certain white privileges, but also comes with certain hindrances from being Jewish and also from being female. As compared to my Black female scholars in my field of study and in other fields of study, we have different barriers and limits and privileges that one another doesn't have.
Okay. So you guys are picking up everything. Now the whole video, we're not going to watch this whole thing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What's it? Shelling the nut of technofeminism. We're going to move over to TikTok. So if I put in cyberfeminism on TikTok just to see what would pop up, and I found all of these girls trying to talk about how they are cyber feminists. So let's just check out some of these. This one, we got to turn down the music. I'll get flagged. Funny how that works. Cyber feminism, sonic cyber feminism, cyber feminists. So this, Androgyne, she posts quite a few videos on cyber feminism. Yeah, this is laugh my ass off. That's how I felt. So she's upset because she applied to MIT for cyber feminism and got rejected, and Stanford, and now she's being asked to have her expertise in music technology and cyber feminism. And here's another one. This is her talking about how she's categorized technologies as various ways that they're oppressive to women. How inclusive is music software? So what? Music software? Music software is oppressive to women? Montana banned TikTok, so I can't ever see this nonsense. Well, good for Montana. I mean, it's good to have a laugh for sure, but this is her taking herself very seriously about how various technologies, such as what was it? Music software, is gender bias. She's really playing with that phallic screwdriver quite heavily. And this is her grading system on the rate of inclusivity in music software. Now, please, somebody tell me how music software is not inclusive to anybody who can read English. If you can read the language, you can use the software. Kristen said the Adam's apple is oppressive to her femininity. Yeah, I think it's a man too, probably. I kind of got that vibe. Yikes. So here's a woman who does art who just discovered Donna Haraway's A Cyborg Manifesto. And she's talking about how wonderful it is because it validates her artwork of drawing women as aliens, cyborgs, and monsters. What is going on? My head is hurting. Yeah. No doubt about that. Just want to say, guys, again, smash that like. And if you'd like to support my work, have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to send in a super chat on Streamlabs, Dono Chat, or here on YouTube.
Turned on to this by another TikToker. I'm going to tag them below, but it's an essay called The Cyborg Manifesto by Donna Haraway.
It's not an essay, it's a book.
And it was written in the 80s, and it introduces this concept of something called cyberfeminism. If you don't know me, my name is Andy. I'm an artist. I run Spooky Girl Art, and most of my illustrations depict really beautiful feminine people as robots, aliens, and monsters. So in this essay, Donna Haraway argues that the cyborg represents a completely different wave of feminism. She says the cyborg represents the rejection of rigid boundaries, and she uses the figure of the cyborg to urge women to move beyond the limitations of traditional gender politics. So this is fascinating to me because I identify as gender fluid or non-binary, but I do express in a feminine way a lot of the time. People are really attracted to the characters that I draw because they're so beautiful and so feminine, but because they are cyborgs, monsters, aliens, they are not inherently female. They do not inherently belong to any gender binary. Haraway argues in this essay that the eventual existence of cyborgs offers a way out of the duality of the system that we find ourselves in. She argues that cyborgs and the eventual enhancement of technology allow for a further liberation of women and women's bodies, and actually eliminates all ties to like natural cycles and childbirth and all those things that we, especially in the Western society, have used to define what womanhood is. She argues that the motif of a cyborg, or in my case, an alien, allows for womanhood or femininity to be explored and completely separate from society and any societal or natural bias that we might have, any connection to the earth.
So essentially, it allows you to explore concepts of femininity divorced from any reality, is what she's saying, which is exactly basically what I've found in regards to the fields of cyberfeminism and technofeminism. I mean, they make maybe some interesting points here or there, but overall, as a field of research, not very good, not very insightful whatsoever. But as she highlighted, she can draw aliens now and sort of reflect and think about femininity in the ways of what would femininity look like on a different planet with like aliens and stuff like that. It's like really, really empowering to me and my art and my gender fluidity.
To the earth or to each other, any of those things are taken away with this kind of third alien identity. The existence of cyborgs allows for a kinship between boundaries and an acceptance of fluid or contradictory identities. I just find this so exciting because this is literally a concept that I've been playing with in my work for a really long time. She uses this cyborg or alien identity as a metaphor for intersectional identities that women of color, trans women, or people all over the world experience all the time, but are often overlooked in modern and third wave Western feminism. Someone who has experienced just a lot of otherness, a lot of otherhood, a lot of not fitting in. I think my exploration of my own femininity and my own presentation while also being other really comes across in my drawings, and that's just a lot of the meaning that goes into it. Here's the stuff for you to check out.
And then here's a video of some chick trying to describe cyberfeminism in under 1 minute. I didn't check this one out. Let's see what this is.
Thursday, if you happen to be in the Boston area, I will be at Berklee College of Music speaking on sonic cyberfeminism with the focus on sonic solidarity and instruments of sonic liberation. I will be bringing the founder of Sonic Liberation Devices, Lita, DJ Lita. They will be my first featured guest, and we will be asking some very, very hard questions, bringing up some very huge elephants in the room.
Really, really hard questions, guys. Really hard questions.
And when it comes to big music tech, when it comes to ableism in next-gen music tech,
how do we turn the music tech industry from a walled garden to a community garden? Are we just going to sit back and let streaming algorithms decide what good music is for the whole planet? Like, what's our game plan? Industry standard in music tech sounds a lot like we've always done it this way. So maybe it's time for a refresh. Everyone says music is a universal language. So why does our tech, like, it was made for only certain types of people? How do we make sure our fire beats don't come at the cost of cultural erasure, asking for the ancestors and the algorithm?
And we'll be providing tool guides as well as toolkits and pathways and ways to check yourself if you are heavily involved in the next-gen music tech industry. And if you are a music tech student, I highly advise you to hit like or follow or find me on socials. I'm at Androgyne. I will be doing more talks on this subject at Cal Poly on the West Coast, in Europe.
How does somebody get invited and paid to travel and talk about these ideas? It's absolute nonsense. Okay, so here's this girl again. NY presents Sonic Cyberfeminism and Electronic Music by Anna Roman.
What's the list? Anyway, that's a list of some of the principles, topics, points I'm going to go over for the Sonic Cyberfeminism.
Okay, let's see what her points are. Cyberfeminism, the problems, the centering of whiteness and its techno cultures. Again, referring back to phallogocentrism, you see how she's using the language of deconstruction within her feminist critiques, techno-feminist critiques of techno cultures. And decolonizing digital and music spaces through sonic cyberfeminism. The current state of gendered labor practices in audio technology, electronic music, and production. Human-centered music tech is not inclusive. And is the computer female? Insights from Sadie Plant. Technology is not neutral. Techno-consensual practices is sound in sound studies. Discriminatory practices in electronic music use cases on sound, gender, and technology. Cyberfeminism versus sonic cyberfeminism. Notions at futurity. And xenofeminism and AI, the next wave. Oh, so we're now entering the fifth wave of feminism? Yikes. I can't even. My newest Zine. What is this? The newest volume of my feminist Zine is out. Pink pilled. Oh, to be a cyborg. This Zine is all about Cyborgs in Art, Life and Feminism. Read along as I explore cyberfeminism and Donna Haraway's iconic Cyborg Manifesto. I'm also weaving an analysis of one of my favorite music artists, Arca. And of course, I'm presenting you the text in a bed of my paintings, drawings, and collages. I had so much fun making this one. I hope you'll have so much fun reading it. Wow, that was pretty uneventful. I want to see what this black chick has to do. Trying to do cyberfeminism in under 3 minutes. Let's see what she has to say.
Post that's like trying to teach you how to channel the divine feminine, but it's really just a guide on how to subscribe to patriarchal norms. I think of this iconic Donna Haraway quote, "I would rather be a cyborg than a goddess." So the quote is from her 1985 Cyborg Manifesto, which is a really important text in feminist postmodern literature, but unfortunately it's also an infamously incomprehensible and cryptic text. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. So when Haraway came up with the manifesto, the idea that there are meaningful connections between women's liberation and technology wasn't new to feminism. Gerda Lerner, for instance, explained in The Creation of Patriarchy that although the history of humanity is a continual process of humans distancing themselves from nature by creating convenience, technology, and culture instead, the persisting patriarchal view is that a woman's rightful place has to be determined by nature and by her biology. Think about how technologies that free men from biological necessity are welcomed, while those that grant women autonomy over our bodies and life planning are constantly contested, because we have to embrace tradition. Other feminist scholars add the perspective.
So life planning, I assume, means killing babies, unborn babies.
That women in patriarchal society are generally thought to be closer to nature, nurture, and intuition, while men are thought to be closer to technology and rationality. And there are feminist scholars who embrace that dichotomy. They say that, yeah, women are closer to nature, and that's a good thing, because motherhood is powerful, nurturing is strength, female biology is a miracle, and women are goddesses. And now in comes Donna Haraway. Now, Haraway doesn't say that we shouldn't counter the patriarchal devaluation of women's labor and mothering by embracing ourselves, but she still resists being placed on such a gendered dichotomy. The cyborg is the emblem of her theory because it is this figure that subverts and cannot be categorized. Haraway's manifesto is about subverting the boundaries between organism and machine, man and woman, nature and culture, self and other. In her opinion, Western social sciences hinge entirely on the ability to place people and phenomena in these boxes of either or. Haraway makes the point that liberation cannot be conceptualized within this framework of gender and being that was handed to us by the patriarchy, even if we mythologize and glorify this patriarchal role and imagine ourselves as goddesses. She embraces complex personhood and that gender is intangible and complicated. In that sense, the cyborg kind of serves this dual function in her text. On the one,
So I just want to highlight, so she's talking about Donna Haraway. So here is, I went to Brave and used their AI to figure out what her sexual orientation was. And this is what I was saying earlier. Her first husband, Jay Miller, was a gay man. Apparently came out of the closet while married to Donna, and they continued to have a close relationship after their divorce, even went on a trip together, celebrating their divorce. After divorcing Jay, Haraway married Rustin Hogness, and they shared a household with Jay and his lover, Bob, until Bob and Jay both died of the household arrangement and relationships between Haraway and Jay exhibit an ongoing willingness to transcend conventional conceptions of romance and friendship, embracing more fluid and open-ended social connections. So maybe the fact that Jay and Bob both died, maybe that's a sign that the transcending of biological norms isn't such a great thing. Anyways, got to give a special thank you to Turquoise, he just gifted 10 COTEL Crew memberships. Thank you so much, brother. I truly, truly appreciate that. He said the Crucible has given me a membership gifting addiction, may need to go to rehab. Well, thank you so much, brother. I truly do appreciate that support. And anybody else who'd like to join that addiction, I'd be warmly welcome. Thank you so much for that, brother. And I want to just give thanks, give a shout out to who all got, dang it. My YouTube froze. I can't scroll up in the chat right now. Well, everybody who got that, congratulations. Thank you so much, Turquoise, for that support. I truly do appreciate that, my brother. And let me just check while we were taking a pause here if there's any other super chats. No, there's not. All right. Well, thank you so much, Turquoise. God bless you. And thank you for the support. So that's Donna Haraway right here. She's the one that wrote a Cyborg Manifesto. She's the one that's being celebrated by all these women. And we'll finish this chick's deconstruction of patriarchal biological norms of women.
On the one hand, it refers to the way that material gender boundaries are transgressed because of technological advance. On the other hand, it is this very abstract idea about how we should overcome the strict boundaries in our discourses and thinking. And I don't know, I think that's really cool. You know, whenever I see one...
I don't know, I think it's like really cool. Control Shift Feminism on Cyberfeminism. Is this a critique? Do we have a woman critiquing it? Oh my gosh, Cyberfeminism fashion. Let's check this out.
In this edition of Cyberfeminism, we explore how the movement has influenced designers such as Terry Mugler and cyber fashion, or fashion in general. Hola, my name is Anna, your AI auntie. I talk about AI ethics, art, debunk AI myths, the media feeds you, and occasionally share my music here.
Can we get a vote? Is this person a man? I think it is. I'm convinced this is a man. Yeah, that's a man. It's a man. Yeah. I also, I'm also taking that sentiment as well. That's a dude. That's a dude, bro. Yeah, that jawline ain't going on a feminine body. That's for sure. Shout out to Disgruntled Doc. God bless you, brother, and the family. Hope you guys are doing well. His shoulders are bigger than mine. Now, Nadim, that's not a brag. Maybe we gotta do some side delts. We gotta get those shoulders wide. We gotta puff up those shoulders. We can't let the trans guy on estrogen out compete you in regards to shoulder width. Come on, bro. Come on.
So let's get into it. Fashion designer Terry Mugler has been known for his innovative and avant-garde designs and has been influenced by various movements throughout his career, including cyberfeminism. In the late 80s and early 90s, Mugler's fashion was heavily influenced by the cyberpunk aesthetic, which drew inspiration from the intersection of technology and subculture. This aesthetic was also popularized.
Nadim said over-exaggeration. Come on. Okay. All right. God bless, Nadim. God bless, brother. I actually would suspect that based on you coming on the stream a few times that your shoulders are in fact wider than his. But what the hell is this fashion? So they got nipple pasties and it looks like a plastic full body. I mean, it's even going over her face. What is this? And why is there a bulge? There is clearly a bulge right here. What? I don't know if that somebody just hasn't trimmed the bushes or if that's a little hidden package right there. I'm not sure, but what the hell is this fashion? This is hideous.
By the cyberfeminism movement, which was critical of patriarchal structures and advocated for the empowerment of marginalized groups. Mugler's designs were known for their futuristic, sculptural, and highly stylized looks, which were intended to empower women and challenge traditional gender roles. Mugler's work was also heavily influenced by his interest in science fiction and fantasy, which he used as a means of exploring the relationship between the human body and technology. Mugler's designs often featured exaggerated, almost mechanical shapes and forms, which were intended to highlight the power and potential of the female body. This was in line with the cyberfeminism movement, which aimed to challenge traditional beauty standards and promote the representation of diverse bodies in fashion. It's important to note that Terry Mugler is not necessarily.
Whoa, this person has motorcycle mirrors coming out of her breast. What is that? It looks like a demon head right above, in the center of her chest. What is that? See if we can zoom in on it. What is that? Leave page, keep editing. Is that looks like Satan's head or something. What the heck is that? I can't tell. Sheesh.
Necessarily self-identified as a cyberfeminist, but it's actually undeniable that his work has been heavily influenced by the movement.
Aesthetic terrorism, yeah, pretty much.
You can follow for more fashion and cyberfeminism. In this edition.
Okay, so this chick, I can't tell if she's providing a critique. This is called Control Shift Feminism.
You're scrolling on TikTok, and for every comedy skit, you come across a thinly veiled, thinly concealed ad. You think you're just watching someone put on some hair oil, but in the corner of your eye, you see a tiny tab for the TikTok shop advertising the same hair oil to you. Now, 90% of consumers do not even trust influencers anymore because they're just rattling off a pre-approved script. All of this feels like it's underlying a dystopian era where shopping and entertainment become synonymous. Ads aren't just going to be about annoying MILFs in your area, but actually synonymous to online culture and the conversations we're having in our intimate lives. So what is the future of online shopping? And how does this relate to cyberfeminism? How does it relate to how we are as people? Find out more in my column. So my new column is called Control plus Shift Feminism. It's all about cyberfeminism, AI, digital media, and fun topics like this. So if you're interested, please do read. You can find this month's column on the Polyester Dollhouse, on Cyberfem Flip, TikTok's rebrand of Lake.
Boring. Very, very boring. What is this?
Des geeks, des activistes et des open mic cyberfem. Aujourd'hui, on parle de net.
Yikes. Oh.
This is my part, nobody else speak. This is my part, nobody else speak. This little light of mine.
Cyberfeminism in the 2010s and the Beyonce connection. What the hell is this? I told you guys, this is a dark, dark rabbit hole. Let's see what she has to say again.
Okay, so a lot more people are interested in the Cyborg Manifesto than I could have expected, so I'm just going to talk about it a little bit more. So in my last video, I said that the text is often thought to be kind of cryptic and difficult to understand, and I think that's really because Haraway doesn't really elaborate on any of the concepts and ideas she introduces. And
now, I just want to make a point here. You see, they always have like these nose piercings. There's a guy named FM2030. And he was one of the first like major promoters of transhumanism. Now, he was actually of Iranian descent, but he was born in Belgium. And he like was absolutely against, let's see, like innate categories. So like where your family came from. Okay, so here we go. He identified with the former. He argued that the nuclear family structure and the idea of the city would disappear, replaced by a modular social communities he called mobilia, powered by communitarianism. So again, communism. But I was actually looking into this guy, and he, oh, here it is. So denigrate into, he viewed traditional names as almost always stamping a label on collective identity, varying from gender to nationality on the individual, thereby existing as prima facie elements. His own words, conventional names define a person's past ancestry, ethnicity, nationality, religion. I am not who I was 10 years ago, and certainly I will not be who I am in 20 years. The name 2030 reflects my conviction that in the years around 2030, so 6 more years, will be a magical time. In 2030, we will be ageless and everyone will have an excellent chance to live forever. 2030 is a dream and a goal. As a staunch anti-nationalist, he believed that there are no illegal immigrants, only irrelevant borders. And so he did one of his books. He actually did a poll, and there was like a questionnaire at the end of his book to see how likely you were to become a transhuman. And it was things like, whether you had modified your body. So tattoos and piercings were signifiers that you would be more likely to go along. Yeah, why is communism so retarded? It's true. That he believed like piercings, tattooing, and then he was very big into polyamory. So he was against the idea of the nuclear family. He wanted to undermine the nuclear family. And so he thought that people that had like heteronormative biases and relationships, monogamous relationships were sort of antiquated attributes that need to be done away with so that people will adopt their transhuman, posthuman future. Now, this is clearly part of the techno cyber feminist world, no doubt. But a lot of people, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. His name was FM230, and it had to do with, and here's his actual name. He was Persian. But 2030, he changed it, and 2030 represented the date in which he thought he would be able to live forever. Now, unfortunately for him, he died of pancreatic cancer. And so he was placed in cryonic suspension at the Alcor Life Extension Foundation in Scottsdale, Arizona. That is one of the leading cryonics research and practicing facilities. I think Bill Gates has already signed up for it, where basically when you're right near death, they will actually kill you and then cryonically preserve you, because they believe, I think now the date is like 2040, and according to Yuval Noah Harari, it's like 2045, that they will be able to resurrect the dead. This is a central feature of like transhumanist, I would argue, theology, but they call it philosophy worldview, is that they'll be able to resurrect the dead. And even Ray Kurzweil, you guys know Ray Kurzweil, The Age of Spiritual Machines, guy works for Google. He believes that he's going to be able to resurrect his father once the singularity emerges, which I believe for him is the year 2040. So according to these people, they again, this guy's dead. He's being cryonically preserved, but they fully believe that they're going to live forever. And Yuval Noah Harari, if you guys read his book, like Homo Deus, he actually claims that they will not be any biological humans by the year 2045, that everybody on the planet will somehow be augmented one way or another. And so, speaking as an Orthodox Christian, we can clearly see that this is a form of the mark of the beast. And what I'm writing about is how this deification process in transhumanism is really apotheotic, or apotheosis, apotheosis, and it's the inversion of Orthodox theosis, where we engage with God through the uncreated energies, living a moral life and a life pleasing to the Holy Trinity. They believe that they're going to be able to just use this technology and live forever and augment everybody. And Yuval Noah Harari is explicit. I actually used the quote in my paper, that those who refuse to get augmented will be forced to, because they're a threat to society. Jesse said I made a stream about that. I'm not sure who you're referring to, Jesse. Maybe this one. Cryonics and the good of transhumanism was my English topic in the last year of high school. Yeah. From frozen to burning pain. David Atlas. Yeah, pretty much. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up because it's so funny how they always have these nose piercings and some sort of modification. Now the transgender dude that we watched, he didn't have any facial piercings, but of course he's already modified himself to be a woman. Looked like he was taking hormones.
And I want to give you one excerpt as an example. And that is the quote: "The cyborg doesn't recognize the Garden of Eden. It is not made of mud and cannot dream of returning to dust." So I would almost say that this quote was kind of thrown away in the text. So Haraway says this as she lists different properties of the cyborg, but she did.
And this is funny that she's bringing this up, because this is actually something I'm using in my research to highlight how this endeavor is really an inversion of Christianity. And so this quote right here by Donna Haraway, that the cyborg would not recognize the Garden of Eden because it's not made of mud, is exactly my case, is that this is an inversion of what life is and its relationship to divinity, because these people really just worship themselves.
She doesn't spend any time on it and immediately moves on. When I was reading the manifesto, it just kind of stood out to me because it sounds really cool. but I wasn't sure of how it related to feminism and what its purpose was in the rest of the text. But I still liked it so much that I put it in my little zine about
Oh my gosh, that's her zine. Okay, interesting. So I'm a little bit bored with her. Let's leave. We'll do another one. Let's see what this chick has to say.
If the drama stay with mama, mother knows best. If the drama stay with...
We got a nose piercing. Always have some type of nose piercing. What is it about women that are progressive and the nose piercing? It's every single time. Every single time. What is this chick?
Une colonie post-industrielle.
Okay, no thank you. No thank you. What was... Oh, that's in Spanish. Nope. Okay. Okay. Anyways, you guys get it. One of the things I was going to show you, obviously, we already looked at that. And if you want to hear what some of these women have to say, it's like, this is a YouTube video from Nerd Night, Cyborg Feminism and the Future of Technology.
In 22nd century androids, this sort of combination.
And this is a presentation by a woman, again, arguing for all this stuff. And I'll share that link with you guys right now. Right there. Okay. So that pretty much that covers most of the stuff that I wanted to share with you guys today in regards to sort of an overview of cyberfeminism and technofeminism, because most people have never heard of this stuff and don't even know that it exists, but it actually does, unfortunately. So smash that like, guys. I want to give a special thank you again to Turquoise for the gifting of 10 COTEL Crew memberships. That's very generous of you, brother. Thank you very much. I truly do appreciate that. And another major thank you to Hadim Haddad. He not only became a COTEL Crew member, but he gifted a COTEL Crew membership. Thank you so much, Nadim. I truly do appreciate you, brother. And I will absolutely say a prayer for you and your family in Lebanon, that nothing happens to you as Israel rages on and terrorizes the entire region, unfortunately. So anyways, yeah. What did Mela say? All of this is full of love. Yeah. Cyber feminists just sound like cyberpunk fans. Pretty much. Again, if you guys want access to my document, which I'm going to do and let me know if you guys aren't really interested in these documents, let me know, because they take time to put together and I won't do it anymore. But so many people have asked for my show notes from these various streams on various topics that I thought, I don't want to give you guys my book. Like I said, I had somebody actually ask to purchase my book here that I put all my notes in, and don't really want that, just because there's other stuff in here that maybe I don't want somebody else to have access to. But if you guys want access to any of the documents, again, they're always on my website. Thank you so much, Mojo, for saying great stream. Really appreciate that. And Mela said, haha, it's in reference to the last robot you shot. Yeah. So anyways, guys, thank you again for all your support. I truly do appreciate it. And I will be back either tomorrow or Friday. There's actually a stream I was wanting to do. I just came across due to the recommendation of somebody concerning a man who grew up in a really wealthy family and claims that he was part of like satanic ritualistic abuse. And I was going to kind of cover his discussion on that. So I may do that tomorrow or Friday, but in the next 2 days, we're going to do another stream. I was going to be streaming with Dyer tomorrow, but some stuff has come up for him. So I think we'll be moving part 2 of our Deconstructing My Christianity. We're going to move that to next week. And then I got to finish reading this book right here, Russia Before the Second Coming, and do one on some eschatology and this book that's really prominent over in Russia. Again, it'll be the only one on the internet. So I may be doing that one either Sunday or Tuesday, because we have a fitness meeting for the month of October on Monday night. So if you want to be a part of that, go to the website, sign up. I'll share that link one more time. It's a great way to support my work and join our community as well. So that is right here. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for your support. God bless you all. And anybody who's in the Middle East, like Nadim, God bless you and your family, brother. I'll definitely be saying a prayer for you guys tonight. And Mad Social Scientist says, please say prayers for Appalachia. We need all the help we can. Andrew, are you doing all right, man? I asked, E.T. was in here, and he said he's in North Carolina. And fortunately, where he's at was spared. But I know that you're in the Appalachia region. How are you doing? Are you okay? Are you able to respond here? Let me know, Andrew, if your place is still intact, because it's terrible. I don't know if you guys have seen what's going on, but the U.S. government is basically refusing to help. Biden said they don't have money. They sent $8 billion to Ukraine, $8 billion to Israel, and somehow we don't have any money for Americans that are displaced due to a natural disaster, the Hurricane Helena. So, and then I saw something today that a helicopter pilot who was rescuing people from really precarious places within North Carolina had been threatened by the U.S. government that they're going to arrest him if he doesn't stop flying and helping people. And I saw another video on X, don't know how serious it was, but a woman from Tennessee said that the Tennessee FEMA, which is called TEMA, basically sent out a message and told people, stop helping your neighbors. If the U.S. government couldn't be any more explicit in the fact that they want Americans to die and people in the Appalachia region, we now know. They will send billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel, but none for Americans. So keep everybody that is affected by Hurricane Helena in your prayers. And Andrew said, I'm alive, have a nasty chest infection, car was crushed, stranded 2 days, but had a generator. Well, glory to God for that, Andrew. Sorry to hear about all that stuff. I'll keep you in my prayers tonight as well, brother. So stay safe, my man. It's just terrible what's going on. It's ridiculous. So, all right, guys, I will see you either tomorrow or Friday. As always, until next time, God bless.